Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Nick here, and welcome to my reaction to Doctor Who Season 2, Bad Wolf, Episode 6, the Interstellar Song Contest. Note this isn't a review, however, might be a little bit more spoiler on this one, but I won't go too much into it because I'm actually hoping to get the review out earlier in the week this time around than the last two, so hopefully that won't be too far away. And usually I would probably have saved more discussion stuff for that. Especially since it was coming sooner than the other ones. However, this one has given me some things to think about more than some of the previous episodes. At time of recording, it's actually 12:28 or 12:29 um, on Sunday, the 18th of May. Because I didn't do it last night, didn't do the reaction last night, so the review for episode 5 did go up sooner than this one, early hours of today. So yeah, this reaction follows. Sorry, I've just been given a message. I'll look at it later. Um, so yeah, Interstellar Song Contest. At the time watching it, I thought it was a really fun, really great, great story, amazing visuals. It looked incredible, and there's some really great stuff going for it. And I'll talk more about the story in the actual review itself. But yeah, I really enjoyed the story going on here, and that it was Eurovision meets Die Hard, as Rusty Davies put it. It's written by Juno Dawson, who's written for the expanded media before, and she's the first trans writer on Doctor Who, so that's a major achievement and a big fuck you to that ruling from last month, as well as all the transphobes out there. So that's awesome. But I think they might have taken some inspiration from the Israel Gaza Palestine. Sorry, I'm getting messages. Um, the back war, which was starting up when this episode was being written, and definitely was happening when this was being filmed, and Israel's participation in Eurovision last year was of major, and this year was of major contestant. Contest, con- con- it was debated severely by people, like should they even be there and not. Apparently they were second this year. Well, apparently they had a really good song, but yeah, politically, ugh. And last year they were top 5. So yeah, I mean, these aren't these. It's not like Ukraine being given the votes in 2022 because mostly because we were feeling sorry for them. No, this is not the same as Ukraine, as the Russia-Ukraine situation. Israel is as bad, if not worse, than Gaza, or specifically Hamas, and Palestine needs to be free from both. To be honest, Israel needs to stop, or at least calm the fuck down, in my opinion, because they like, okay, I get where they're coming from for the October 7 attacks, but oh my god, they've just taken it to extreme levels. So stop it. Stop it now. And yeah, I think the Eurovision should have shown them the same courtesy as they did Russia. Unfortunately, they haven't. And I think this episode sort of leans into that because um, it feels like the people, the villains of the story, perhaps are representing Palestine, and then there's the revelation that's because they're attacking the space station because the corporation backing the Interstellar Song Contest they've gone and ruined their home planet to create honey from their flowers. So that's so the corporation is seen as the Israelis, or maybe it's the other way around. But either way, as it feels like an allergy analogy. Whether it was intentional or not, it definitely has those very similar vibes. And when you come to the ending with how the villains are defeated and then what happens next, it does very feel like it is sort of more siding, like it doesn't know who to side with. It does. I keep notifications. I do apologise. It doesn't know who to side with, and it ends up feels a bit muddled and questionable with the politics. And really, I feel very let down. Even at the time when I was watching the episode, I was let down that the Doctor didn't go to the corporation and basically give them a massive rant and a huge telling off and hand them over to the authorities alongside the two terrorists and say like, oh, they're just as bad, if not worse. Did, uh, deal with all of them, deal with them as well as these two, because I think that's something that the Doctor would have normally have done, especially after realizing that, because they. I will talk more about this in the review, because the Doctor does do something that I at the time I thought was pretty interesting and handled well, but knowing sort of maybe the implications, it does also feel a bit icky. And I think perhaps if the Doctor had gone and ranted to the corporation, or got them into the same, get them to go and do the same sort of justice as the two terrorists, have them dealt with in the same way, so to speak, I think that would have been a much better wrap up to all of that. Because and even at the time, I felt that the Doctor not doing that felt off, especially after going hard on the terrorists and what we found out about their home planet, and the Cora, who turns out to be another one of their species, but she's good. She just wants to sing, and also later spread the message about what's happened. Um, but so she's basically sort of like maybe the Gazan civilian, the good person, if this is sort of the implication, or at least or the good Israeli who doesn't support who doesn't support their government's actions. Whoever the episode is trying to um, be similar to, and yeah, I just that maybe that would have felt, because I think the Doctor kind of giving the punishment to the person and they're going really far, sort of does work, but if it works, it worked at the time, but then thinking about it, like, without going to punish the other people, it does feel a bit off, and it does feel a bit out of character for the Doctor not to go up to the corporation and massively bring them down harder, even if it's not in the same fashion. Like, take the 10th Doctor bring down Harriet Jones just for blowing up the Sycorax, and he liked her, so like if he could do that then. Or what about the 12th Doctor saying that in Oxygen, that the company that was going to let people die because they were too expensive to live, until he made them too more expensive to be dead, and then says, "Oh, the company sort of has a revolution and they fall down." The third Doctor would not stand for any of this. He would be in the faces, and he would be ranting. Or the ninth Doctor, or even the seventh Doctor would be absolutely pissed at the corporations, but 15 lets them go because he's more angry with the other two, specifically Kid. And yeah, okay, for the in the moment, I understand that, but once Belinda and Cora turn up, and they should have told him that what happened. I think that's another thing, they think they didn't tell the Doctor that they should have told him directly, and Belinda. I think Belinda didn't. She should have then said, "You've gone too far with what you've done," even without knowing why they're doing this. You still went too far. This should have been a moment of this. This should have been where they clashed the most in this series. We haven't really done this. I mean, the 13th Doctor didn't really clash with her companions often, but even Yaz still kind of stood up to her a few times later on. Like, she was determined to find out answers. But I think this could have been something like, say, Kill the Moon situation, where Clara confronted the 12th Doctor about what they did, or um, done a bit more like I mean, that story you can just debate who you side with. Depends whether you're in Clara's position, or if you just find her annoying, depending how you see that situation. Here, I think more people could kind of see where Belinda's going. But no, they didn't do that. Belinda doesn't tell the Doctor off, despite being shocked at what he's about to do, what his response to finding out what Kid's done, and she's shocked at how angry he is. But she doesn't really, apart from telling him to stop, doesn't really go into it more. I think that's a missed opportunity, and I think the Doctor and Ruby didn't really fight very often, if at all. And we thought Belinda was going to be the one who was going to challenge the Doctor more. The actresses even said so in the interview. This is the perfect time for Belinda to stand up to the Doctor and say, "You've gone too far," and also explanation to why they're doing this, now feel sorry about it. Be sorry, and that's where I think the Doctor should have felt. Not only realized he went too far, but now he knows the truth, and it's like now he knows he really messed up. Not that the villains shouldn't get away unpunished, absolutely not. But perhaps he realised he went too far, and now that's his motivation to then go after the company as well, and then get both parties sorted out. But no, they don't do that for some reason. So yeah, see what I mean about the iffy politics? Like, who do you side with? Because the episode doesn't seem to know who to side with, because it has it has these victims, but it also makes two of them the bad guys, want to kill loads of people, and then and then they're just arrested, and then the company seem, despite Cora then singing a song about them, the company still sort of get off scot-free. I mean, maybe people will turn against them later, but we won't see that unless there's going to be a novelization to expand on this. Actually, that'd be a good idea. Or a sequel episode next year, or next series, whenever it's made. Or maybe some of this is going to be explained in the next 2 episodes, perhaps, if we're leading into it. But I don't know, I just feel like that's the bigger kind of issues I've had with this story, is who are we supposed to sympathize with, and who are we supposed to see as the bad guys? And if it's supposed to be both, then both should be treated equally in the punishment, and not say these two just get arrested and the corporation gets revealed to be bad, but otherwise off scot-free, as far as we're aware at this point. Yeah, the episode's more keen on leading into next week than it is actually resolving itself. I would say the rest of it is still pretty fun and engaging and really good. And it's got some fun Eurovision vibes to it. But I think this is the same thing that Klablam had, which I mentioned two reviews ago, actually, in the series, in the Lucky Day review, that Kablam was really great until towards the end, and then with the twist reveal of its villain and its standing, and it seemed to be the story seemed to be sort of a analogy of Amazon's treatment of workers, and saying that the system was broken, but then turned out that there was one person sort of damaging the system, and they were the bad guys. And so the politics was a odd mixture of that, plus also the whole, they're going to shut down for a month, but only going to give the workers 2 weeks paid leave as opposed to a month. What are they going to do for what are they going to do for the other 2 weeks then, or 2.5 weeks, however long a month is for them? The politics in Kablam are a bit muddled at the end, and they kind of bring the episode down a bit. And this episode has the same problem, but I think it's more widened because it's a bigger analogy with the modern context, and there's a big missed opportunity for like both parties being criticized to be punished for their actions equally, but only one goes off to be punished, and we don't even know what that is going to be. And the other, as far as we're aware, get off scot-free, despite being supposedly worse, or just as bad. So it feels so much of a muddle, and it's not even to the fact the episode is more focused on the Eurovision angle of that, because that's more set dressing rather than anything. It's fun set dressing, and it brings some great moments, and it has a great emotional climax for Cora's character at the end, and it also has some other great songs, including Dug-a-Doo, which is gonna be the new number one. And I'm being serious, by the way. It's so silly and so weird, and it looks like it's gonna be terrible, but it's also really catchy and fun. It's the I've Got a Dog Called Fred of this season. It's the song that's not supposed to be taken as a favourite, but it's probably going to end up being one. Marigold's a secret genius at that. Then if the whole BFI thing for the 20th anniversary of Doctor Who, if that was happening today or one of the next weekends, then someone should have asked him about that. But because it happened 2 weeks ago, then it's a question for another time. what I will say is it gave me very 1980s Doctor Who vibes, but in the 21st century style. Like, but it just works. Speaking of the 1980s, apparently the planet Cora pretends to be from before she's revealed to be a Hellion, the species in this story who are being attacked, exploited by the company, and two of them are the villains. But she's from Tryon. She claims, or at least she claims to be on Tryon initially, which is the home planet of Turlo, apparently from the Fifth Doctor's era. So that's a nice reference. Um, but yeah, I think the episode is mostly fun until we get towards the end again. Whilst, like I said, I think the Doctor going really hard on someone who he thinks is really evil and has given him ice in his heart. That works really great. But then when you think about it, the villain's also a genocide survivor, and yes, he is attempting to create another genocide in response, but which is bad, but extremely bad. But then maybe goes a bit too far, and then until he finds out with Cora's song about what happened, he doesn't know. And I think that's a missed opportunity for Belinda and Cora to not. I think they should have told him. He realizes he's gone too far, and he then goes into a bit of self-reflection after that, and Belinda scolds him for his previous actions. Even if he didn't know, she still thinks he went too far. And there's two big reveals. There's a big reveal, and there's two big character appearances in this story. I will keep those for the review because the spoilers, but one of them, I think one of them should have also kind of, because they did try, the Doctor's getting flashes to them, and they sort of like helping them survive when they were sucked into space. They went on the confetti cannon, very much like another Fifth Doctor reference, the cricket ball and False Doomsday. And then later on, the flashes were telling them to stop with what they were doing. Maybe that should have been the point where the Doctor realizes they're going too far, but they can't stop until they find out Belinda is still alive. And then as well as that, she then tells him about the villains' homeworld, and he realizes has gone too far. He almost did a Time Lord Victorious or a Hell Bent, and went too far. Again, look, with Time Lord Victorious, with in the Water Mars, he meddled with time too much, and then deemed himself too powerful. And then in the Time Lord Victorious thing, 10th Doctor specifically, thought he was all powerful and so forth without being grounded by Adelaide's death. And in Hellbent, the 12th Doctor essentially became the villain for the second half of the story. With I think that could have been handled better, but interesting idea. And the same here, but I think again, like Hellbent, it could have been handled better. And yeah, I've suggested how I would have done it. The other the other reveal is the Mrs. Flood reveal in the mid-credits of the story, but again, more on that next time, because I actually want people to go and either watch the episode or at the very least watch the clip at the end, and then go and watch people's videos about it. So I did see watch people's videos after watching the episode. So this is the first reaction for this series, I think, that I've done after doing that. That's why I've got a bit more of an opinion on the resolution at the end, and it has made me think about it a bit more. But even then, I still fairly enjoyed the story as a whole. But I think the ending's kind of lets it down a little bit. And like I said, I think it cares more about going into next week rather than resolving the situation on an equal basis or a more Doctor-like basis. As good, like I said, as good as the whole going too far angle and then reflecting on that would have been, but again, you need them to actually realize they went too far before, not before, but to make that even better, you need them to actually realize they almost went into the wrong. It almost got as bad as the villains and the corporation, and now they need to find justice for everyone. So yeah, I think it kind of it felt too muddled at the end. I think another couple minutes to resolve it. And I know this episode was on a bit of a tight schedule because it was between the football and Eurovision, and thank fuck they actually managed to air it. Oh, but Yeah, yeah. I think the end it got a bit muddled in the ending. The rest of it up to then was really great, really fun, and then that kind again, like talk about it, kind of lets it down a bit, quite a bit actually, and then it just feels a bit icky in spots without some sort of like the doctor realizing he went too far and going after the corporation as well afterwards or something. And even the villains so are just kind of like a traditional, oh, you defeated me, but I'll be back. I'll get you next time. Doctor Who raw, Grr, sort of response. And the doctor's like, oh yeah, well whatever. I'll be waiting. Bye bye. No, no, this should be more dramatic. It should be more impactful. This should be more down to earth. Ironic because it's in space rather than, Grr, Doctor Who, you defeated me. I'll be back. Yeah, yeah, whatever. I'll see you next time. Bye. Situation. Like, Juno Dawson, you're a fantastic writer. I mean, I didn't this. I haven't heard Doctor Who Redacted season 2 yet, but season 1 was really great. And I heard you, apart from maybe one Torchwood audio, you've done some really great other expanded media stuff, like some other audios um, and also the Good Doctor book for the 13th Doctor era. That was apparently I've got that, but I haven't read it. It's apparently really good, and I think I think she's done one or two talk. I think she did 2 or 3 Torchwoods, and one of them's really good. I have heard that actually. I think it was good. The other one I haven't heard, but apparently that one's not so good. But excluding that one, some people aren't really so keen on. I think it was for the monthly range. The one that was well received was one of these story continues ones. Um, Apart from one Torchwood's audio, I think most people generally really likes her stuff, and I think she's a brilliant writer. But she kind of lets it down at the end, which is a massive shame. I think she's really great as well. She's a great person as well. We've seen her in the specials commentary. She was fun. So I'm not sure what went wrong. What went wrong at the end? At the like, not even the last hurdle. We were a couple of hurdles away. What happened? What happened? Maybe it was a time thing, and they needed to lead into next week a bit more. But honestly, I think that the third act needed a rewrite, or at the very least, that scene in the control room. That scene needed a total rewrite, or no, well, maybe not a total rewrite, but a big rewrite. Because yeah, oh, that's not very. It's not good. That scene is not good. I mean, not without something following up saying that maybe the Doctor went too far and the corporation needs to be held account to as well as the other villains, and Doctor found out why, and so etc. Whatever, what I all said earlier, everything I've said earlier, but without that, yeah, it doesn't feel good. So yeah, I was thinking this episode when I was watching it, I thought this might be my third favorite episode of the series. After Lux and the Well, so it was above the previous two, so we got ones that were above it. Um, then I thought maybe actually no, it's probably the weakest episode since Robot Revolution, and I think it might actually end up being second to last on the ranking after Robot Revolution. And now I think I might actually think I haven't even rewatched the episode for a second time yet, and now I'm thinking it might actually be the weakest episode of the series because of the ending, or specifically most of the third act. Not specifically the very last bits. I'm fine with the Mrs. Flood reveal. I'm fine with the Susan stuff. I'm fine with the lead into next week, just so long as it wasn't at the price of the resolution for this story. And I think that was botched, or at the very least partially botched. I think it was on the right tracks, and then it derailed because of, like I said, what I said about the Doctor not finding out about the truth and so forth, like not being repentive a little. I mean, he can still have his like ice in his heart for what Kid tried to do, but maybe it wouldn't be as bad because now it's not as hardened, or it's not as big because he now knows why Kid did what he did, and now he's got some cold heart to corporation as well. But no, we don't do that. No, it's just the traditional baddie says, "I'll get you next time," or not next time, "I'll be back," and Doc's like, "Yeah, whatever. I'll be waiting, whatever." Like if that was I don't know, if that was Devil's Court, maybe, yeah, the Devil's Court, for example, perfect. Not this one. Not this one. This one should have been a more serious and grounded ending, like with the song, the chorus song. But nope, they didn't do that. Nope. So yeah, so that's kind of let this episode down significantly. I think I might still give it an 8 out of 10. Maybe it might end up being a high 7, depending how I feel on the rewatch. Most of the rest is great. It's that bit, that portion in the third act coming up towards the end really is it really brings the episode down, just like how Kabam's ending, or yeah, most of that ending let that story down. And yeah, it does not bode well for this episode's placement in my ranking, not only of this series but also for the 15th Doctor's era, because up to this point, season 2 was bam, 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 bam with hits. Okay, maybe not so much Robot Revolution. That was good, really good, but more necessary to get the series started and Belinda's set up, etc. And then we can go and do more interesting stuff later, as I mentioned back then. And then after that, it's been hit, 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 hit. Well, mostly, more or less. And then this one, uh, it's almost there. It's let down at the end. So, or not even at the end, the third act. So, I mean, it's not as big of a shit on the story as Closing Time's third act. I mean, I really liked Closing Time's first 2/3, and then the third act was a huge, huge shit. It's probably the worst third act of any story, including Hellbent. I mean, at least Hellbent at least Hellbent was playing with some ideas, and it wasn't really doing it very well. But at least it didn't shit on the first 2/3. In fact, actually, I think the second third was actually the worst part. But at least it didn't. I mean, it shat on the previous story, but it didn't shit on what came earlier in that episode. So, I mean, they were mostly more or less as bad, but still. But yeah, and I think this one, similar situation to Closing Time, but at the very least, it's not as the first 2/3 wasn't quite as uh, amazing, and the third didn't do as big of a shit, and there was some last saving graces towards the end, like chorus song, and of course the big reveal, which is exciting. But but yeah, don't forget, yeah, this is don't just talk about that big shock reveal like the Almost People. This is there is actually a bigger story before that. Actually, this reaction might actually end up being longer than the review. Sorry about that. I was actually supposed to stop this 10 minutes ago, but yeah, that's my reaction to the Interstellar Song Contest. Muddled, muddled thoughts. And mostly enjoyable, but when you get towards the end, it decides to modify its what it wants to talk about, and it just comes off as a bit awkward and icky in places, and really feel like a rewrite of that third act, and it would have been great, might even been amazing. As it stands, it doesn't sit entirely right, and currently it's looking at not only weakest episode of season 2, but it's a contend after Space Babies in the season and Empire of Death, Almost People. That's series 6. Legend of Ruby Sunday, Empire of Death. After those two and Space Babies, or specifically Empire of Death, we're going individual episodes, but story wise, season 1 finale and season 1 premiere. After those two, I think we're looking at the weakest story of the 15th Doctor's run so far, and the weakest story of RTD2, sadly, which is a shame. We were on such a good roll, and then like I said, the story was going so well, and then it just drops the ball. Not even before the end, like during Act 3. Well, if this is if this is the weakest season 2 is going to get, I'm still going to say season 2 is one of the strongest series, and still the strongest series since 2017 at least, possibly even since 2010. I'll have to compare whether I prefer this to series 10 or not once it's all finished. But we still got 2 more episodes to go, so who knows? But hopefully, fingers crossed, they will be incredible. Next week's looking interesting. Wish World. the return of Conrad, and there's another villain we know who's going to be in it. That's going to be very interesting. So I'll see you guys next week. I'll do a reaction to that, and I'll do a reaction to reality war the week after. After this episode's review later this week, hopefully on my birthday. Although it won't be another 10 out of 10 review like Haunted Villa Diodate's revisitation review, or my retro channel reviews for the Android Invasion, which I was surprised about, and Stolen Earth Journey's End, which is more for Stolen Earth than for Journey's End, but overall it just about made it. But yeah, this one will not be another 10 out of 10. This one's looking at 8, maybe even 7. Depends how I feel on the second viewing, but yeah. So yeah, it won't be another 10 out of 10 review this time, sadly. I think story, maybe I should have saved the story in the engine, actually, and maybe I should have delayed that review to that day. At least that would have been a 9. Or at very least a high 8, but no. I got out just in time. Well, I say just after the episode this episode. So anyway, so yeah, after Interstellar Song Contest review, the review for the finale will be, you'll get both episodes together, and that'll be after the reality war has come out, and then I'll rewatch the series again for the ranking. So that's the plan. You got Interstellar Song Contest review next, hopefully sooner than later, and then the 2 reactions to the finale episodes, and then a review for both episodes together after that, after episode 8 has aired, and then ranking. And we'll hope by then we should hopefully know if the 15th Doctor is sticking around or not. Whether I should do the top 15th Doctor stories ranking yet or no, or a top 15th Doctor stories so far ranking, and an update that when we know what the final episode score is. Unless it's confirmed it's just one more, then I'll wait till after that. But we'll see. Anyway, thank you for watching this reaction. Hopefully the review won't be as long. I think this is the longest reaction now, compared to last time, which I think was the shortest reaction of the series. So hopefully the review won't be much longer than this, maybe about the same length. But I'll see you guys next time for the review of the Interstellar Song Contest, then the reaction to Wish World. Till then, see you guys next time. Goodbye.